Well, that's quite surprising. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're all safe and well. So tonight we have another new guest, new victim for yous and for me, obviously, not just for yous. You can talk to me basically. We have Neil Packer. Neil is the founder of the Paranormal Research Centre and of the Ghost Planet Network, and he's also the brains behind the yearly Parameet event, which has just been at the weekend there. So he's quite a busy guy. So it's nice to meet you, Neil, at last.
Nice to meet you too.
How are we doing? How's life down south?
It's okay. I've just had a very busy weekend, so I've tried to chill out a bit this morning, but it never works out. This afternoon I got on the computer planning for the next Parameet now, so which is in September.
So what is Parameet, and how did it kind of come about?
Yeah, Parameet is it's basically a paranormal convention. But the original idea wasn't actually mine. It was a friend of mine, and because I've got the research centre, he said, "Why don't you once a month invite the small teams to come meet each other and just have a sort of meeting?" So that's how Parameet started. It started once the first Saturday of the month, quite a few years ago now actually, and then sort of COVID hit us. That was taken off nicely, and then COVID hit us, didn't it? So we closed for the lockdown. So then we did an online Parameet where we got different speakers and we just did different shows. Then when COVID finished, we thought, yeah, let's make it bigger. So this is our fourth year of the sort of we hire the hotel, and so this is the fourth year, and it's been growing ever since. So it's been fantastic.
Aye, there's Laura, and she's one of ours. There's nothing. I said, Laura, we don't have anything paranormal. Hey, buddy, thanks for coming in.
That's Amy.
Oh, it's your son or your daughter?
She says she's my daughter, but she's not really.
Oh, right, it's that kind of one of these. You inherit them.
Yeah, she helps out at the centre.
Right.
And whenever a team's coming, she says she's my daughter, and they all believe her. She puts on this innocent voice, and they all believe her. But I think it's a bit of a joke now.
You always say, just before I come back to Parameet, I need to ask you, I'm getting a cough. How did it all begin for you?
Well, the paranormal. Well, when I was a teenager, I saw a full-bodied apparition. So that sort of made my initial interest. But then, like a lot of people in the UK, Most Haunted came on TV, and when it first started, I loved it, and I thought, yeah, you can actually go and into a potentially haunted location. So that's how it started. Obviously, I don't watch Most Haunted now. But I think when it first started, I thought it was really good and it was groundbreaking in the UK.
I actually get asked to ask you that by a certain person. I'm not going to name names. You see, it was a bit of a running joke or something. He said, Barry told me to ask you that. See, it was a running joke.
Yeah. So I've been in it about probably about 16, 17 years now. So it's really interesting, and I do love the paranormal. So
I used to watch Most Haunted, and I used to believe it. Way back, I don't know, 20 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think when it originally started, it did have good intentions, and I think it started well. But like all production companies, they demand activity everywhere they go. And we all know, being investigators, you're not going to get activity everywhere you go, every minute of the night. So you can go to a haunted location and get nothing all night.
I've been there.
Yeah, TV companies don't want that, do they? They want the excitement of stones being thrown or people being affected or whatever.
You would think, but a TV company would maybe want a program that shows the true paranormal. As you say, most hauntings started off probably best intentions,
Yeah,
quite a few good captures, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
But then as time went on and they get bigger and the TV thought, well, we're
yeah,
onto something here. Let's try and stick more life into it, pardon the pun. But you think
yeah,
they would turn around and say, well, no, it's catching on, so let's no, fake it. Let's
yeah.
not put any pressure on them. Let's just let them go and do what they want to do, basically.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know.
But that's really one of the reasons I created Ghost Planet Network. 'Cause GPN is an internet based um, paranormal TV channel. It's on Roku TV and on all mobile devices now. And I always think that the shows on TV and the YouTube now are for the general public, not for investigators, because we know what really happens.
Mm-hmm.
So GPN, I want it for the general public and investigators alike, so everyone can watch the shows that we do, the series that we do, and the series that I put on. Um, and this year, it's GPN is going to grow even bigger, because we've got so many different ideas for different series that we're going to start producing. And the good thing is, we're not governed by production companies. So
Aye, so you can do your own thing, basically.
yeah, so it's run by me basically. So and I'm an investigator, so I know what real paranormal investigating is like. If nothing happens in the night, that's what you show. We had a good night, but unfortunately, there's no paranormal activity.
No, you're spot on, Neil. I mean, I used to watch a lot of the big TV programs, but I don't know, for the last, I don't know, X amount of time, I just watch YouTube and smaller teams, teams that are not on telly, normal teams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That's the sort. I watch YouTube paranormal shows. I watch the show. Obviously, I any teams that send me their content, I watch every single episode that I put on GPN. So I know it's not blown out of all proportion, not exaggerated, and it's proper investigated. I'm not bothered about top quality production features. You can film on your mobile phone if you want. I just
mhm.
want to I just want to show real investigations going on, even if it's just a husband and wife team that we have on GPN. That's fine because that's what you do. That's what you love doing, and try and share it to the world because we are worldwide now. We've got viewers in America, New Zealand, Australia, even in India and Mexico. People watch GPN.
As you're quite well. I've got a couple of questions for you. I'll stick up in a wee
Okay.
second. But no, I've said that in a few shows to people that there should be shows out there that show the real side of the paranormal.
Yeah, exactly.
You
I
know,
100% agree with that, and that's what I hope
because
GPN does.
you get people coming into it. I mean, I think the paranormal's get bigger in the last, say, 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
It just seems to have exploded, basically. And there's a lot of people come into it with the misconception
yeah, yeah.
that it's going to be like Most Haunted or Ghost
That's right.
Adventures.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
they set themselves up for a fall. Whereas if you programs, wherever they were shown, that actually showed people sitting in a castle ruin for,
Yeah,
maybe no 5 hours, but, a good length of time with nothing, then
that's
it gives
right.
these new people,
Yeah,
a better
that's right.
perspective of what they're in for,
That's
rather
right.
than, you no doubt you got to get people there that, right, we're going to go investigate, never done it before. I've got my torch, I've got my K2, and we're going
Yeah,
to, and, they're sitting there for 10, 15 minutes and think, well, it's not like this, and most of this is crap,
yeah,
you know.
that's right. Yeah, well, we do nights at the centre, and we have paying guests come in, and I do the introduction talk, and the first thing I say, if you're coming here and expecting Most Haunted, if you're expecting stones being thrown at you, or big bangs, you are going to be disappointed because I would love it to happen, but it just ain't going to happen.
Aye.
If you hear footsteps or feel something, to me that's good. That's a bonus for them. Good, but you're not going to get stones thrown at you like some shows do.
As ideally, when these people come along, you'd like something to happen.
Yeah.
Like see, we were out last week. We were out Saturday night, and we had a guest came along. It was our first ever investigation, and we get quite a wee bit of activity. But what a heater behind there was a cupboard behind us, and there was one of these fan heaters sitting top, and that actually moved, and you heard the thump as it moved. So I was glad that it happened. Not for the fact, not just the fact that it happened, but also the fact that this lady was there, and you got something.
Yeah. That's obviously, we like the guests to experience something, but I say it's not guaranteed.
Even even the guests that come along and see, it might not be a big bang or whatever. The Grim Reaper might not appear, but it could be something that you feel yourself that nobody else does, or you think you hear, see, whatever. I'll put these comments up for you. Laura's asking, how do you feel about animal spirits?
Well, actually, we do have a lot of spiritual creatures at the centre, and we do have a spirit of a cat at the centre, and I think a spirit of a dog. So yeah, we have experienced spiritual creatures for many years.
I mean, you think about animals, they've got soul spirits, as well. So when your dog or cat passes, then they probably have the same kind of understanding as say human spirits, whatever you like, as we would when we pass over. But they'll still be kicking about somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Gabs, how many items do you think are housed up at the museum?
It's literally hundreds of potentially haunted items. We never say the items are haunted. I think it's down to the investigators to tell us what they think about the items. We've got our own opinion, but we never force our opinion onto people unless they ask us. So we have got potentially hundreds of different items, ranging from the normal the dolls to we got jars of soil. We've got African items, wartime items. We've got a whole mix of different things, and I think that's what makes the place special. So yeah, literally hundreds.
Laura's saying, although most teams are all for para-unity, i.e. working together, how do you feel about teams that are clearly taking the muck out of the paranormal investigating? Should they be called out?
Yeah, they should be called out. I don't like fakers. I don't like teams faking it or exaggerating things, or if they hear a noise and they know full well what's caused it, but they still say it's paranormal. I don't like that at all. I do watch a debunking show on YouTube, which I enjoy, and the fakers spoil it for the genuine investigators, because the general public see them, excuse me, and they think that's what investigating is like, but it's not. So the fakers, the big fakers, do spoil the field.
Was also saying my dog and cat, who were best friends, passed and wanted each other. That was 7 years ago. My husband, my daughter, and I still see them regularly. It's a comfort. So we still see them kicking about the house. But it's a very unique location. It's the first of its kind, and people can handle work. People can work with the items.
The items in the centre aren't, well, they're in cabinets, but you can open them. So teams come and investigate. They can work with the items. They can do psychometry. They can sit in the wheelchair, for example, and they can work with the items.
So, you know why I asked that question, Scott? There's a location we do quite a wee bit. We've been doing it for three and a half years. There's a team up here. I'm not going to name them, but it's a husband and wife. You know, you remember GOB?
Yeah.
Well, I liken them to them basically, and
Okay.
we've never had any direct contact with them, and vice versa. But they're really getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
You know, they're constantly going to different places, and every time, you know, something happens, or they get, you know, a demonic spirit, or they get a rude spirit. You know, there's always, and they're just, as I say, we've never had any direct contact, but it's just one of these teams that really grind my gears when I watch them,
Yeah.
and I'm dying to call them out. But Loudon Cuts are a creation we've been doing for three and a half years, and we've made a lot of progress. It took time, as you know, it does take time. It's 2 months to get to where we are with the police, but
Yeah.
they were there a couple of weeks ago investigating. They've done it in a live, and Sarah, my partner, she was watching it, and I was jumping in and out the chat, you know,
Yeah.
you're a wee bit nosy, but that was it. And and so they were saying, "Oh, we've been here many times, so you should know us." So I put the chat, you know, we've been investigating there for about 3 years now. Then I put in, ask about Robert.
Yeah.
It was just a made up name. I thought I'm just going to chuck that in, see what happens. Sure enough, they contacted a Robert who used to be the boyfriend of there's a castle nearby who used to be the boyfriend of a lady that stayed in the castle.
Yeah.
And as I say, that's just a
surprise
random
with
name.
them.
You know, I could have said Peter, Paul, Simon. I could have said, you know, but they got them. But that's not who Laura was referring to.
Yeah.
This other team, former team members, they did an investigation there, and one of them was in a corner saying she had, you know, sort of called Thomas Campbell, 1700s, and he was a Covenanter, blah, 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 you know. And people were commenting, oh, wow, that's amazing, you know, the usual. We were there, I don't know, a week or two later, and I was standing in the same spot that this lady had been standing.
Yeah.
And there was a headstone right beside me, and I started reading it. And lo and behold, what was on it? Oh, he's away. I see we've lost my guest. This has happened before, and the guest came back, but I see we have a black screen now, folks, so I don't actually know where he's went. No, he's gone. He's just popped off my screen. So you're stuck with me? I'm afraid. You're stuck with me. Unless I can get him back. Where's my phone? I need to mail him. Bear with me, folks. I'll just send him a wee mail because he just seems to have went kaput. This is embarrassing. This is awkward. Just do my usual and talk. I could do that, Laura, but folk would get bored. 2 seconds, dog. 2 seconds. He disappeared. See if he mails me back. So this individual been reading. Oh, hold on. I think he's back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
No, he just kind of disappeared. It's happened a couple of times. There's one guy a couple of years ago. He went to press the comment button and he pressed the leave studio button, and it took me a few seconds to realise that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, that was there myself.
I could see the black screen where I should have been. Strange.
But you're back. That's the main thing. But it's when you get these teams and they go out and they do, you know, they read off a headstone and stuff like that, you think, you know, it's just not right. And it gives the whole paranormal a totally bad name because everybody starts thinking that it is like that.
That's right. You know. I don't like teams like that at all. They're just so bad for the field.
Gap's asking, what's your thoughts on demons?
Well, we do actually do it at the centre. We do actually do a series called The Demon Connections, where we do actually chat to demons. And it's our belief. The word demons is just a label given to these ancient entities And I don't believe that they are evil like Hollywood and the church portrays them. They're just ancient beings, um, and we do lots of work with these demons.
I just think Gap saying sorry. I know him so well. Laura told me just to do my usual talk, but then you pop back up. Um, I it's I I mean I believe there is demons somewhere, in some kind of realm that they
Yeah,
do exist. But do they come into people's houses and start throwing their furniture about and
no, they don't.
causing I mean, a demon infestation, to my knowledge, can take months or years.
I,
It doesn't.
I,
You
yeah,
don't just wake up one day and bang, I'm possessed,
yeah.
or whatever.
I don't believe in demonic possessions at all. We are working with the Demon Connection series. We're working through the Lesser Keir Solomon, so that we're working through the 72 demons of the book Lesser Keir Solomon, and we've actually communicated with our 32 so far, and they're not evil at all. There's four of us in the team, and uh, during every episode that we've done, we've all felt perfectly fine. We've never felt in any danger, and we've had great communication with them. And they're just not like Hollywood portrays them or the church portrays them.
Aye,
We believe they're just ancient beings.
there no these kind of nasty and they turn people's eyes yellow and you know
No,
it's.
I've come across worse human spirits than any of the demons that we've chatted to.
I was going to say, we've been lucky. So we've been going for 5 years this June, July time. And we've never, to this day, we came across some grumpy spirits. No doubt you've been told to F off, or Sarah and
Yeah,
stuff, been told to F off and called, unsavoury names.
yeah,
We went to Canongate, Kirk in Edinburgh one night and we just had this feeling, wasn't demonic. I wouldn't even say it was negative, but we just had this feeling that we weren't welcome.
yeah,
We weren't wanted, and that was it. So, the whole demon thing and blah, blah, blah. No, we don't. I do believe they exist, but we don't buy into that everything's demonic. That team I was talking about for Scotland, they did a
yeah.
private house and they put it up in TikTok and said a couple of days before we went, we knew we were going to be dealing with a demonic spirit. I thought, do you know
No,
what? Do
I,
one.
I don't believe any house is haunted by a demonic entity. They
No,
could be haunted by somebody really nasty or grumpy human spirit, but I don't believe any house is filled with demonic evil.
no, it's not. So I was saying our guest the other night, in life, we've all met or we've all meet somebody who's just not a people person. They're
Mm,
no bad or evil. They just don't. They're not very sociable. I
yeah,
think we've all known somebody at one point, and so they'll be the same once they pass over. They'll still not be. They'll not suddenly become people friendly.
that's right.
Where's the grumpy old man along the road who hated all the kids? You always get one of them.
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
Aye, that's you.
That's Sarah, my partner. Don't you hear that? She's over. She's over there. Was that's why. Hence why I asked, do you call them out or do you just put up with it? Because as a genuine team, you don't want to come across as bullying. Laura's talking about these
these things.
clowns that fake everything.
Well, to be honest, I over the years I have been dragged into quite a bit of drama with the team that you mentioned. I got dragged into their drama once, and I just try and keep away from all the drama now. If people ask me my opinion, I will give it them, but I just keep out of all the drama. I keep away from people with big egos. I can't be doing with big egos, um, and I can't be dealing with the drama. So I just keep out of it, to be honest.
I think the thing that I know is Gap saying Fred West was evil, but I wouldn't call him a demon though. Not, I totally spot on. Some people are just born bad,
Yeah, yeah.
evil.
Well, we do have an item of Fred West's at the centre, and we do have the spirit of Fred West come up quite a few times come through, and he's not nice at all. I would sooner sit in a room with a demonic entity than Fred West on his own, or even, I believe in the Fae. So fairies and all that, and fairies aren't like Tinkerbell. They can be little mischievous and little mischievous little things. And I've said before, I would sooner sit in a room on my own with a demonic entity than a grumpy fairy, because they can be quite nasty.
Yeah, Lord says so Jeffrey Dahmer, demon, no evil. So
Yeah,
Jeffrey Dahmer, demon, it was just a bad so and so, basically.
I think a lot of it's down to the sort of mental state of these people. If you've perhaps got some sort of mental illness that you're just not really a human being. You're just something horrible in a human body. But from our experiences, these so-called demons, these evil entities, they are not evil at all. They, in fact, the ones that we've chatted to, they give us more interesting information than we get from some normal human spirits, because they do actually know more. They've been around for thousands and thousands of years, so they are ancient beings with a lot of knowledge.
Aye. Laura loves Tinkerbell. Um, or just put that.
Yeah,
Put
yeah,
that.
but all fairies aren't like Tinkerbell.
I don't know. Pixie, is it pixie dust or something she uses?
Yeah,
I don't know. Pixie dust. But I mean, you just jump back to these people at fake places. We were always saying about calling them out. There have been a couple of times I've ranted about them in a couple of lives. I've not named them, but I think it's when you do a location. I don't know if this has happened to you. You do a location and you become very, very attached to it. Like Loud
yeah,
and Cup. But then you go in, you get these people that go in, and they're not trying to take over, but they start spouting a load of crap about it,
yeah, yeah. It
you
is
know,
very annoying.
and it does annoy you, and you feel just like coming on alive and saying, look, see X, beep beep beep, they're just total
Yeah, yeah,
thingy. It's just but I like to jump back to you get the Paranormal Research Centre, the haunted items. Now, I think it was about a year and a half ago, roughly, there was a big upsurge in haunted dolls.
yeah,
Everybody was selling them online on eBay, Amazon. You
yeah,
could go anywhere, and they all seem to have the same story attached. Brother and
yeah,
sister. Sister drowned in a river, and brother tried to
yeah.
save her, kind of thing. What what's your opinion on all that? I mean, I know there are haunted items and haunted dolls. I'm not saying they don't exist; they do, but I think I
Yeah.
just kind of get out of hand.
We never buy anything off eBay, off the internet that's supposed to be haunted. Um, we go out and find our own, or we do have items sent to us, and quite often we have haunted dolls sent to us, and we try and do some work with it, and there's absolutely nothing attached to this doll. But these people have bought this haunted doll off eBay, say for example, and I think a lot of it's the suggestion. You read the write up about this haunted doll, and you think, oh wow, and that's already in your head.
Hmm.
Um, so then I do think some people not make up the stuff, make up activity, but they attribute everything to the doll. Um, but quite often the doll has got nothing attached to it at all.
It's just ridiculous. I watched one team particular. There was a woman member, and she was doing a live, and I think she had 5 dolls lined up in her house,
Yeah,
and she was saying they were all haunted, and one of them was just coming out of their sleep cycle.
really.
And I'm sitting there watching. Well, she usually wakes up about 10 o'clock. Her sleep cycle ends about 10 o'clock. So she should be waking up any time now. And she's got these dolls all lined up in a row against her living room wall or whatever it was. And I'm thinking, all you're missing is a dollhouse. Just go and get a dollhouse for her and you can sit and play all day. It's really, it really got out of hand. Remember when we did Pendle Hill, that was to do with the Fae.
Yeah. That's from Amy, who's part of the team. I think a couple of years ago now, we went as a team, we went up to Pendle Hill. Because I was having a series of a series of dreams where a witch was coming to me and says, you need to go to Pendle Hill and tell the true story. So we booked the weekend in Pendle Inn, I think we stayed at, and we went into the woods, went up to all the well-known areas, and in the woods, all the activity in the woods was because of the Fae. That's what we come up with. The witches, in our opinion, I always just say, in our opinion, the witches aren't there. They've gone. They've told the story's been documented correctly, and so the activity for us, the activity is all centered around the Fae, not the witches.
Yeah, it was a Pendle Hill one. We've done a lot in Pendle Hill, and with Simon Entwistle on. Quite a few times. We visited him, it was about 3 years ago. Sarah's over there, but that's why I keep turning around. Where did we stay? The campsite, wasn't it? Brocklehead campsite we stayed in. And we were there for about 4 days. We went to Sadler's Farm, St Mary's Church. Yeah. And I didn't realise Pendle was so big, but the area, we'd watched it on TV and stuff like that, and you expected just to be a small borough, but when you're actually there, it's like 25, 30 miles between each location kind of thing. There was an atmosphere. We didn't go on the actual hill, but when especially when you get to St Mary's, and it's just the whole, it's as if you're going back in time.
That's right. Yeah, it was a cool place to go. And it'll always be on every investigator's wish list. But I do find some teams listen to the stories, and that's how they base their investigation. I think you need to go with an open mind, and that's how we investigate. We start with an open mind. I know what other teams have come across before in the location, but I sort of kind of ignore that. That's my starting point, but then I ignore it. So we just go with what we're finding.
I think that's the best way to do it. I watched Most Haunted when they done Pendle. I don't know if you ever watched the episodes. And they done Tyndale Farm.
Yeah.
And I remember they were in the basement, and Derek, God rest him, was saying that there's 5 witches here and the rest are on their way. They're coming over and they're sacrificing. But Tyndale Farm didn't exist back in the 1600s.
No, it didn't.
It wasn't there,
And also, you see, the witches weren't evil people. They were healers, and I think witches got a bad rep. And they weren't evil. They were healers, and they were just Pendle was a very, very deprived area them days, and these ladies were just trying to get food to put on the table.
And they were different.
Yeah, but being different then is not like being different now. Being then, I know a lot of witches now, and they're just nice people.
I've had 1 or 2 on the show, and they don't have a big pointy nose and a hat and all the rest.
That's right. That's right.
Just, we've had Patty Negri on quite a few. She's a white witch.
Yeah.
Pendle, to me, the whole Pendle trials took place because of one man's greed and ego. Roger Knowles, basically, with little Alice, who had got herself into trouble, and the only way to get herself out of it was to lie, basically.
But she
You
all
know,
she wanted was food, because
aye,
they those days they were starving. And then of course you see the religion kicked in, because obviously they wanted to get rid of their religion, didn't they? So any excuse to sort of hang Catholics, then call them a witch.
aye, that was it. You're a witch. You soon you were, and also, you know, it got Roger reckon, you know, got him up the ladder in the eyes of the
Yeah,
king, basically,
that's
you know,
right.
and no forgetting the Alice Nutter. She was never originally accused as being a witch. She was in court over a land dispute, which was unheard of in that day, and
Yeah,
it was against Roger Knowles, and she won.
yeah.
So, you know, he took this big blow big time, and the only way to get rid of her was she's a witch. And you know, here's a question for you. I've asked a few people this. Do you think Alice Nutter is buried in the Nutter plot at St Mary's?
Um, Personally, I don't think she is buried there.
Because I know there's been a lot of ifs and buts and yes and no's overdone through the
Yeah,
centuries. Basically, one theory is that because Alice came from a sort of well-to-do family, you know, told that money passed hands at the time that she was
yeah,
executed and that she was taken to St Mary's. It's totally a relevant question. I just wondering, you know,
yeah,
I'm kind of,
yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of 50-50 for me. Is
That's
she
right.
is
That's right.
that that was quite surreal standing there,
Yeah.
you know, at that
Yeah,
grave.
yeah. It's an interesting location, and I do think everyone, excuse me, who's interested in the paranormal should go to experience it for themselves. But don't watch the shows where they say it's all pure evil up there, because I don't believe it is.
It's no evil. There is an atmosphere, you know, but it's no a negative atmosphere or an evil atmosphere. It's just you feel like you're stepping back in time. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
You do
I
feel,
agree. Yeah,
you
there
know,
is an atmosphere there, but I do think it's ourselves that sort of add to that atmosphere, because you go there with all these we all know the stories, so we go and create that sort of atmosphere.
I've said this about the Covenanters prison. Gaps saying we went to our so-called grave. Um, I've said this about Covenanters prison. Oh, Hannah says hi, by the way. Sorry, I missed that one. I think I could. What item is saying scares you the most? And Hannah says hi.
Anna's one of the haunted dolls that we got from the centre. She came to Parameet with us at the weekend, so she's at Amy's house at the minute.
She's, you know. So, what item scares you the most?
What item scares me the most? Probably in the attic room we got a cracked mirror, which is a portal mirror. I am quite nervous when I'm around that, to be honest, because we don't actually know who. Lots of different entities can come through that mirror, and you just don't know who's going to come through at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the good thing, one of the good things about the centre is you just don't know who's there the time that you're there. You know, we can go into the attic, say 10 o'clock in the morning, and it feels perfectly fine. You think, yeah, I could sit there. But when you go out and then go back in, say 12 o'clock, same day, the atmosphere is totally different. And you think, no, I don't want to be in here on my own, because it all
I,
depends who's comes in through the mirror.
I totally get that. You know, it's the same when you go in locations like graveyards and what have you. It's the same we take on a different kind of atmosphere when as soon as the sun goes down, kind of thing. And you know, a lot of it's your mindset basically. Mood changes all the time in there. But it's just what you were saying, as I was saying about the Covenant with Pendle, as you were saying about Pendle, people know the sort of background story to it, so it's already logged in here when they go.
That's
I,
right. You go to a place like Pendle Hill, and you are expecting to come across nasty evil witches.
mm,
So that's in your head. But we when we went, we weren't thinking that because and so I do think we came across the truth when we went Pendle. The witch that came to me in my dream just wanted us to find out the truth. They're basically saying, look, the witches have moved on. Everything's been told was the truth. So there's nothing more to say about the situation. Obviously, the people of Pendle don't want to hear that because the tourism is great for the town or the villages. But that's just what we found when we went.
It's been told over and over again, and it's, why? I mean, there's been many witch trials in the UK, from north to south, from top to bottom, and no disrespect to any of the other, victims of the other witch trials. God knows there was thousands of them. Why do you think? I mean, Pendle seems to have a hold on the majority of the paranormal worldwide.
Yeah, I think it's because of the hill. I must admit the hill is imposing. When you first see it, it does look imposing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's because it's the hill, and I just think it's the symbolism of the Pendle Hill.
The hill is. I remember the first time Sarah and I saw the hill. We were going to Stumpcross Caverns near Skipton, but then with friends that stayed in, I think it was Blackburn. So we were going to see them. So on the way back, we first saw the hill, and seriously, there's a hill. So I'm trying to drive and I'm trying to look at this hill at the same time, and you can't take your eyes off because you think that's Pendle Hill.
Yeah.
It wasn't very impressive, but
it
wasn't very impressive.
Sarah wasn't impressed by it, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously we're in Scotland. We've got hills with a pocket full, but you're looking at this thing, and it's got that kind of distinct shape as well. And that's Pendle Hill. That's actually Pendle Hill. Gap's asking, what plans do you have for the next Parameet?
Well, we're going to the Parameet in September, and then next year we're going to go even bigger. So I've got big plans for next year. But we're going back to Sketchy Grange in Hinckley in September. We've got a couple of experiments planned. I'm sorting them out as we speak. That are really, really exciting. Two sort of extremes of the paranormal that we're going to do experiments on. So September is really exciting, and it's only 16 weeks away. So we've got to get cracking.
I know. This is nearly the end of May. June's just around the corner.
Yeah.
Does he see many times since I had the house lit up for Christmas? I mean, we're hitting June. But I mean, the Parameet idea, Neil, is a brilliant idea, and it does bring a lot of small teams together.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have anything like that up where you live?
No, I think there's one in, is it Inverness?
What?
It's a Paracon thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Horicon is up in Inverness, which is we're down near Glasgow. So we're about three and a half hours away from it.
Because what we're planning for next year is doing one big Parameet in Hinckley again with the GPN Awards in June. But the other months we're planning on taking Parameet on tour. So we're planning on taking some of the 100 objects from the centre and doing one-day Parameets all around the country.
I think that'd be really good.
We are looking to come to Scotland, so perhaps I'll talk to you about it.
I know, definitely. We're here, just quite like Gap saying, I best get some Ouija boards made, LOL.
Yeah, Amy makes resin Ouija boards.
Right. I don't know. I've never been, no disrespect, Amy, but I've never been a fan of the Ouija board. I don't know. Okay. I've tried it once with GSI we did Sherwood Forest with him as a Halloween kind of special there on Paraflix. So we were doing our filming with him, and one of the founders of GSI, he hates iron brew.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a running kind of joke going on for weeks, you know. So well, if you drink a can of iron brew in front of me, I'll try the Ouija board. So we met up, and you know, we took iron brew, and I forgot to tell him how gassy it was, but you know, so he was burping quite a lot. But however, he says, right, you've done iron brew, I'll do the Ouija board. I've done it for about 10 minutes with Ralph, one of the other founders, who's been doing it for about 30 plus years, and I trust him 100%. And I actually found I think it was somebody called Ken, I think it was. But I actually found it quite relaxing because John, the guy, says to me, so what did you think? I says, I found it quite relaxing, even though it was only like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But I've never ever tried it since. The part of me is a big happy family. You meet like-minded people, make friends. If you come alone, Neil will get you working. That's fine. We're up for that. But no, we don't. I mean, I think there's more teams in England than there are in Scotland. You know, we're friendly with quite a few teams up here, but they're kind of scattered about.
Yeah.
You know, we stay in Ayrshire, and I think there's 2 or 3 teams kind of local to where we are. When I say local, I say maybe 20, 30 mile away.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like Parameet to bring them all together. You know, in a hall or you know wherever it might be.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing we're looking at the other locations around the country. Not big. It'll just be a one-day event in even if it's just a village hall, just to try and show what we do and get some guest speakers on, just 3 or 4 guest speakers for the day, and try and bring the general public and the paranormal, just show what the paranormal field really is like, because the paranormal field really is nice, friendly. We all get on, and we can talk. We can all have different belief systems, but we can all talk, share our experiences without any ridicule. And that to me, that's how the paranormal should be. You know, we might disagree on something, but we can still be mates.
No, 1,000%, Neil. I totally agree with that. The Haunted Antiques Roadshow, you could call it that. I think the paranormal is with one big happy family. Don't get me wrong, there are X amount of teams there that just like to stick the knife in, or they want to be the next Ghost Adventures, or they want to be on TV, and you know, so they'll do anything. Or they'll get a location, say, right, this is our location, and nobody else is allowed in, kind of thing. And we don't always agree. It'd be boring if we agreed with everything.
Well, wouldn't it? You know, that's what being human is, isn't it? To me, being human is, I've got my opinions, you've got your opinions, she's got her opinions. There might be 3 different opinions. We can agree to disagree, appreciate each other's opinion, and say, "Okay, mate, we're still friends." That's it. That's how life should be.
I agree to disagree, and it's also a good way to learn. Because let's face it, you know, even though there are people out there that claim to be experts, you know.
Right. There's no experts because there's no proof of the ghosts actually exist, is there? So how can you be an expert on an unknown entity?
That's it, you know. But I've met a couple of people say, you know, we kicked a guy out of our group once. He was saying, "I am an expert in this and that." No, you're no, mate. You know, jog on. You're kicked out. Right. But it's a good way for us to learn as well, because we can all learn from each other. You know, you might know or think of something that I don't know, and vice versa. I mean, we're close with a team called Spig. And, you know, it can be something silly. I remember we did an investigation with them, and there was a place we went to, and with the kitten balls, and I could not get a kitten ball to sit at peace. I kept, a kitten ball, whatever. And it was one of the guys, David, in the team says, "Stick it inside a glass." Oh, here I never thought it. Now, that's just a wee detail. Do you know what I mean? But it was something weird. So I got a glass and I stuck in, and I said, "You're right enough." You know, and so it's a way for even if it's the simplest thing to learn from each other, you know,
That's,
or you
that's,
might
that's
have an idea that I've never thought. You think, oh, aye, right, well, wait a minute.
I agree. That's how the field should be, and if the majority of people in the paranormal field are like that, they genuinely are like that, and it's things like the parameet that bring all these people together in one location, and it's I just think parameet, and there's other like, conventions as well. They're all got their own niche, but parameet is for the paranormal community to meet, and hence the name, and talk and talk about locations and say, oh, we went there last week and got such and such. Oh, we went a year ago and got such and such, and or we use that piece of equipment that way. Oh, I've never thought about that. Like you said with the cat balls, I've never thought about that. Let's give it a go.
Aye, and it's how we learn. Listen, people forget we're working towards the one thing, the paranormal answers. You know, we're all looking for the same thing.
Yeah,
You know, none is. There's B. Sarah, Laura says, Sarah, that's I'm thinking of kittens. You know, none of us want to be the number one team or anything like that. You know, we're not interested in all that sort of ball, excuse the French. But aye, we're out there. We're not trying to prove the existence of the paranormal. We're not trying to shove it down people's throats saying, this is real.
yeah.
We're just trying to, if we take Loudon, for instance, we're built up a relationship, if you call that, with spirits there. And, you know, it's just we're building up a relationship in the physical.
Well, it is, and I think the more times you go to a location, the more communication you are going to get because they know who you are. Because after all, you are going in their home. So the more times you go in their home, they know you. They know they can trust you, so they will give you more information.
Aye, exactly. We Loudon, we were there for maybe about a year and a half, something like that. Before we always felt no wanted, we always felt we were getting watched, and what if there was a spirit down the back end there. And it was after about a year and a half we started to get kind of answers. Now, people outside the paranormal would think that's a long time, you know, but to us it's really no, you know, because there isn't a time limit on it. And the atmosphere did kind of shift, and now it's just like a second home to us, and it's I know there's these teams out there they want to be number one. It's when somebody turns and say we're the best team in Britain. I've heard that said before, and you think that grinds my gears because it's just to me it's just total disrespect to every other team group in the UK. Basically, they're saying use a crap and we're number one. Blah-de-da. You think, no, just like punch you in the face.
They're the teams that have got TV ambitions, like you said before. They want to be the next most haunted or the next ghost adventurers. And if that's their ambitions, just do what you want.
I just it is annoying to watch them. And so maybe the easy solution is no to watch them, but there's that wee bit of you, Neil. I don't know if you're the same. There's that wee bit of me that you want to watch them because you want to see what they're doing. You know,
I know what you mean.
Even though you might despise them, you still think, "Oh, they're live. I'm going to get a watch and see where they are." But I mean, again, the part of me, as you say, it's a good way for teams to meet. It's also a good way for the public to meet because there's a lot of interest out there in the paranormal, but people I think are kind of wary of coming forward.
Yeah, I you know, a lot of these big YouTube channels and things, they tend to focus on the negative side of the paranormal. You know, the demonic, supposedly the demonic side, but that's not what it is. You're more likely to come across an old grandma than a demon. So we need to educate the general public to say, yeah, this is what we do. This is what genuine teams do, and we do investigate. We don't just sort of ghost hunt sort of thing. We don't exaggerate on things. If nothing happens, nothing happens. That's what paranormal investigating. But we go back time and time again to the same location, and then you can build up a picture. You can get the full story. I don't think you can go into a location once and say that's not haunted or that's really haunted, because you can go tomorrow night, you can go one night and get nothing. You can go the next night and get loads, but you go the night after that and get nothing in. You just don't know. You can't just go once, and you keep going back to the same locations is a great way of doing it. So you are building up an evidence file on that one location.
You're building up an evidence files, you see, you're building up a trust, you're building up a friendship. Don't get me wrong, there are places we went to as a one-off, like everybody else has done. You know, when some people say, but you go to the same location, does it not get boring? And just what you said, and you say, no, it doesn't get boring because we're building a relationship up, you know, and there are nights at Loudon where we've had loads of stuff. The last time we were there, we had a wee bit of activity, no much, and then it just went flat, as we call it, you know. You know that feeling you just get, right, well, I think the spirits are away home. They're gone for the night. And
that's right.
You know, time to pack it up and go home. But it's all about working at it and research, not making crap up because you don't get anything. You know.
Definitely.
And it's, I mean, for a while at Loudon there was lights on the one side. It's all surrounded by trees, but we could see lights coming through, and we always wondered where it was. Then we found out there was a house away on the other side, and this house they've got a massive big patio area. And it's all lit up. So at night time, that's what we were seeing, was these lights through the trees. But I don't know if Sarah knows that. That couple were there last week. They were talking, oh, did you see that light through the trees? And now it's a shadow. Oh, it's a light. I think that's the lights for that house. You know.
It's an Airbnb.
It's an Airbnb. That's what it is. But for ages, we say, and then we found out, and the place is all lit up at night. So there you go. There the lights were debunked. But these two clowns were giving it, well, that's a shadow. No, it's turned into a light. No, it's a light. It's a shadow. It's a house, you know. That's a good point. Paranormal can still be seen as a taboo subject. I think, as I say, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to come forward in case they get laughed at, basically.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I've come across that. But that's another reason for Parameet. You know, you can come to Parameet and tell people your beliefs, and you're not going to get criticised. You're not going to get ridiculed, because we're all a Parameet. We are really. We call it the Parameet family, and because, like I say, we've done it for 4 years now, and we have a lot of people come to every single event that we do, and sometimes that's the only time you see these people, and it's great because you get to meet old mates again.
Because you've not seen them for a year, or you know, whatever length of time.
And it's great, and that's another reason that we're gonna sort of take it around the UK tour next year to introduce new people from the different areas of the UK mainland.
Because there is a lot. I mean, our daughter, she's 9, and she's right. She loves it. She's right into the paranormal. I think we're broken her, but she's right into the paranormal and graveyards and stuff like that. And she tells her teachers in school what mum and dad do. And a few of the teachers, even some of the parents, will say, you know, well, you do the paranormal, and say, aye. And so I'm right into that. I love all that stuff. I watch on the telly and blah, blah, blah. So there is, you know, and that's just one wee school.
Yeah, there's millions and millions of people who are interested in the paranormal. Some are perhaps scared of it, but I think they're only scared of it really because of what they've seen or heard on the TV or something like that. But what you see on a lot of the big channels on YouTube aren't genuine, because they're big because they get lots of activity everywhere they go.
It's all crammed in 45 minutes. That guest we had out was last week, but the week prior to, I was saying, you know, it was still okay for Saturday. She's a hypnotherapist, But she says, I am looking for it, but I'm terrified. And I
Yeah.
said, well, you don't need to be terrified. There's nothing to be. But she came along on Saturday and she had quite a good. There's a farm nearby that we do as well. We done the farm first. So by the time we got to the kirkyard, it was a bit dark. So she did say, I'm a wee bit freaked out because it's a dark graveyard, which is fine. It's normal, you know, it's her first time. But she was saying the week before, I'm terrified of Saturday, you know. I said, look, there's nothing to be terrified of.
No.
Just
no,
come on. But she ended up saying, oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I really, and I want to come back out with these kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, it was before I joined PIH, I was a devout Christian. When people at church found out, I was judged by them, but I still hold my beliefs. But now I'm more aware there's more than heaven and hell, but also what I say, you're only allowed so many words and comments, aren't you? What I have found is that many people within the church message me and actually ask what we do, and they found it interesting. So it's quite a common, quite a popular thing, but people just won't come forward.
Yeah.
You know, and see again, Paramount.
Yeah, Paramount is a perfect location.
You know, just come along. There's no judgments, nothing. Come along, have a cup of tea, have a wander about, have a chat, listen to whoever's there, and see what you think. That's what I've told people that go investigations, because people say, I'm going to an investigation, what should I do? So, well, there's no any rules, just go and see what happens. But do I need to do anything specific? Said, no, just absolutely. One thing I always say to people is go to the investigation, but don't expect anything.
That's right.
And they'll say, what? So just don't expect anything. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's the best way. No, I'm not saying I'm an expert on it, but I think that's the best way to tell people. Just don't expect a thing. Just go.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we tell our guests when they come. Don't expect anything. Because once you start expecting something and that something doesn't happen, you go away disappointed. If you go to a location expecting nothing and something happens, it's even better.
Yeah, because if they go with this big expectations, you see, they're building themselves up for, you know, disappointment, basically.
That's right.
And I have to say to them, you know, you might go and 10 minutes later, you might come running, screaming out the door. You know, like, oh my God, we're all going to die. I say, you might go and you're sitting there all night. I went, no, you're spot on, Neil, but you say that they're building themselves up for disappointment.
That's right, definitely.
And I can put them off going to another one.
That's right.
You know, because the next investigation might be full of life, pardon the pun. You know, you might have all sorts going on, tables lifting, and you just don't know. The Paramount is also education with all the guest speakers and workshops. So who was your guest speakers that one just passed there?
Well, this weekend we've had Dr. Kate Sherrill. She was a guest, but she's a regular speaker. Barry John, who's really well-known medium. We have Kate Ray, who deals with the Fae. We have Paul Goddard, who does past life regression. The Paramount in September, we've got Dave Hodrian, who's kind of knows about, who looks into the UFO phenomena. We got Andy Guy, who builds paranormal equipment, as a guest speaker in September. So next year, when we do the big Paramount back in England in June, we got Beardo Get Scared coming. He's going to do a talk. He's a big debunker in the UK.
I've heard of him.
He actually came on Saturday and he loved the Paramount, and he can't talk highly enough. I've seen a couple of his live streams this weekend, and he absolutely loved Paramount. He was shocked how friendly, relaxed, and because I think he came thinking he was a bit nervous about coming, I think, and because he thought it was going to be some people sort of having a go at him because he debunks paranormal shows on YouTube. But he says everyone was so friendly and talking and telling them their beliefs. It might not be the same as his, but he appreciated their beliefs. They appreciated his beliefs, and they got on. And that's how it should be. So we have well-known speakers. We have a core 6 speakers, and then we throw new ones in the mix as well, who just come once or twice.
We had Kate Sherrill on about 6-7 months ago, and Barry John. I've had him in quite a few times. He's coming back.
Yeah,
next month. He's coming on the same night as Barry is actually.
great. Barry John's a great guy.
I love Barry. He's absolutely brilliant, and he's got Scottish. His sister, his cousin, his aunt stays in Glasgow. We always have a laugh and a joke when he's on. But I mean, this guy Beardo, I think he's doing something good.
Oh yes, because he when he debunks, he tends to he doesn't like fakers on YouTube, which I totally agree with him. I don't like fakers because fakers are no good for the field as a whole. So he just says his opinions. He backs his opinions up with evidence, and I think he's great. And I met him for the first time Saturday. I had a little chat with him, and he's a really nice guy. When you meet him,
they're not doing care, guys. These people. I found that with doing this as well. I don't know if you or Gap's asking, where and when can you get tickets for next Parameet? When and where? Sorry.
Okay, then for the September Parameet, I was working on the computer doing it earlier. Tickets will be released on Wednesday on our parameetworld.com website. So I was going to release them tomorrow, but I'm in London all day tomorrow now. So I will release tickets and all details on Wednesday.
So there you go. Wednesday is the day it's happening. But as I was saying, these people, they're just, like Kate Sherrill as well. She's done loads of TV and stuff like that. And they're just down there. They're just normal people. I think that's another misconception with people outside the paranormal. I mean, it sounds big-headed. It's no meant to, but I've interviewed we've had Patty Negri on countless times, and I've interviewed actors and film directors and authors of stories. A big mixed bag. And some of these people are big names in their field. But at the end of the day, see when you get talking to them, I mean, like Barry John, he's quite big. I'm not talking weight-wise. He's quite big in what he does. And I wasn't calling you Fat Barry in case you watch this at some point, my man. I know he gets quite touchy.
Barry is an amazing guy, and he's helped me a lot personally and with Parameet. He's one of the nicest guys you ever like to meet. Kate Sherrill, one of the nicest ladies you ever meet. And another, Kate Sherrill is very up and coming in the paranormal field, same as Claire Glover. I don't know if you ever. She does Don't Scare Claire, sort of a YouTube podcast. Very up and coming, and she's a lovely girl. Kev Kerr, he's a regular speaker at Parameet. He's quite skeptical, so he brings that side of it to Parameet. But he's a great guy, and I will be working a lot more with those as well as my own team. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of these people who are genuine, nice people and genuinely know their stuff.
They know their stuff. And the other side of the coin, as you used to say, they're genuinely nice people. You can sit down and have a chat with them.
Yeah, you really can.
A chat about anything. As I say, I've had quite a lot of big people in here, and we just chatted away, and they're no up in themselves. There's no big ego trip or whatever. And if they can advise you or help you, then they will, because they've got nothing to gain. They're not there to look at me. I'm a big TV star or
that's right.
Whatever.
That's right.
Unlike some people. But I think we should definitely try and get to the next Parameet. So you're as you're ghost planning it, how do you go into your network? Is there a kind of criteria? Because we've tried a few networks in the past. I'm not going to name them, no disrespect to them, but and it just didn't work out for us. You know, people contact us and say, "Come and join our network," and you know, we don't do this for views or anything. Don't get me wrong; it's good to see, you know, you get 800 or 900 views in a show. You're like, well, that was a good one. You know, you get yourself a wee pat in the back and you move on, kind of thing. Same as if you get a big capture on an investigation, I think that was a good one. You know, you have that wee 2 or 3 minute, oh, well done us, kind of thing. But then you move on to it. So we've had folk come and join our network, your show will be international and blah, blah, blah. And well, we'll give it a go. And it's just been doing the pan base. We've just gave up. We've left them, basically.
Yeah, well, Ghost Planet Network, we do have quite a few teams with their content on the channel now, which is nice. So if any teams want to submit their content, just message me. Send me an example of the work. I will look at it and see if it's something that GPN would like to put on, and we'll take it from there. So it's quite simple, really. You know, you just send me the content on Google Drive, and then we'll take it from there. So
when you say content, do you mean like podcasts or investigation or?
Either. We have quite a few different podcasts on there as well now. So you know, we have Mark's Unexplained World. We have Hair in the Hawthorne. We have Don't Scare Claire. We have podcasts. But then we also have teams sending me their investigations as well. So it's a complete mix. And we have people just walking around haunted locations, talking about them. That's still of an interest to me.
I've done that with Loudon a couple of times. Just, you know, it's a kind of place. No doubt you've got a place as well. It's one of your favourites, and it doesn't matter how many times you go there. You could you never get bored, you never get fed up, and you never get fed up kind of talking about it. What's your kind of go-to location if somebody to say what's your favourite? You know, if you go to a happy place, basically.
Yeah, I have actually been to Edinburgh Vaults. I really loved the Edinburgh Vaults. I would like to go back there again. I do love Dudley Castle, which is in the West Midlands. I love Falstaff or the Tudor World Museum in Stratford. I do love them. I like Grace Dew Priory in Loughborough, which is not too far from us, and that's just a derelict priory and the woods. But possibly my favourite location is Dudley Castle or Falstaff's.
What vaults did you do in Edinburgh?
Is it just called the Edinburgh Vaults? It's not Merrykins Close. It's
There's three. There's
what are they called?
There's Blair Street Vaults, and then you get Nidry Street, and you get Nidry Street South. Nidry Street are the ones you go in. It sounds silly, but you go in and you need to go upstairs to them.
No, we went downstairs. We went downstairs. I think we went downstairs to them.
Nidry Street South, you go down the stairs to them.
It must have been that one there. It's been many, many years ago since I went.
We've done the vaults a few times.
It's the one with, is it Mr. Boots?
Aye, that's Blair Street Vaults.
Yeah, that's the one we did.
They're at the kind of other end of the Royal Mile.
Okay. Yeah, that's one we did.
We did that one. Sarah and I did it. How long ago was it? We did the Blair Street Vaults.
I
It was for Sarah's birthday.
think. 6 years ago?
6 years ago, we booked a tour.
Yeah.
This is before we started doing all this kind of stuff. And so we booked the Blair Street Vaults tour. But what they didn't tell you is that the tour starts at the St. Giles Cathedral.
All right.
And it takes you around about 5 or 6 different places on the mile before you're actually get into the vaults. And you only get about 10-15 minutes in the actual vaults themselves.
Oh, really?
And I thought, well, we booked a tour. So, you know, when they say the Blair Street Vaults tour, you think you're going into the vaults for the entire thing. But this tour guide was dragging us on. I mean, we love it. We've done a lot in Edinburgh. We've got a documentary coming up there in July, but he's taking us to all these different bits. Saying, when are we going to the vaults? I'm here for the vaults, you know.
No, I think we were in the vaults longer than that.
Eh?
We've been in the vaults longer
It wasn't that long.
Because mind you got a whiskey at the end.
Well, I got a wee whiskey at the end.
All right.
But you got a Isle Brew, I think it was.
Was that what? No, no, I was driving too. Like you could give it. I had to do a sort because I was driving. But I was kind of disappointed. I mean, the vaults are nice, but that's the Blair Street ones are the ones with Mr. Boots.
Yeah, that's the one we went to.
Who was, well, the reports are that he was some kind of caretaker.
Yeah.
Back when the vaults were working vaults, but he wasn't the nicest. One of these nasty people we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah. I would like to go back there again. Because we went there when I was just starting my paranormal journey. So I'm a lot more experienced now. So I think we would have a lot more interaction down there now.
We love Greyfriars as well. We've done a lot in Greyfriars.
Oh,
you know what to investigate with Greyfriars now. That's totally banned. Can I come along too, Pops?
Huh.
Is that what you get called, Pops? That's lovely.
She calls me Pops. Yeah.
That's a term of endearment. I think the expression is. Greyfriars is an amazing place.
Yeah.
You know, just even the history and that it's actually built on bodies.
Mm.
You know, the estimation is just under about 500,000 bodies are in Greyfriars.
Right, man.
And you just can't comprehend it. You know, we've been there dozen of times, but you just can't comprehend that the hill was actually caused through people.
Yeah.
Which is more or less, you know, some are buried there, but there's a lot of plague victims and stuff like that were just dumped in them. And that's what I love as well. As you say, Neil, about going about abandoned places, old castles, whatever it is. I love that as well.
Mm.
You know, just look, you know, there might not be much of them left, but even just having a wander about and seeing, you know, because you start to build up a picture how it was when they were a working building.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And you start to build up in your mind as well who would have been there, people, you know, whether it be kitchen staff or whoever it was, coming and going, and you kind of create a kind of film in your head sort of thing of how it was. That might sound nuts, you know, but you start to create this kind of image, and it's just when you look at it. I remember Hunterston Castle, which is on the west coast of Scotland. We covered the unveiling of the Wallace Oak down there for the Society of William Wallace, but the week before I was down just having a look about, and met one of the tour guides, and she says, you want a wee tour of the castle while you're here? I'll give you a wee sneaky tour of the castle. You usually need to pay for it, you know. She says, come on. So she gave me a tour of the whole castle, and it was just like there was. I remember getting in this door. It was like the king's bedroom, and there was these iron ringlets sticking out the wall. Because I hurt my arm on one. She says, "Oh, what is that? That's part of the original. What's your arm on? That's part of the original ringlets that held the hinges, basically, that held the door." And it's something just small and simple, but you think, who put that there? What was that person like?
That's right.
You know, as I say, it's as small as we detail, but you start to think about the people who actually built the castle. And then, you know, also the original door's not there anymore. But it's all these wee things that have stood the test of time. And
it's fascinating.
People walk by them and don't even kind of realise, you know what I mean? But I'm just noticing the time, but I'm going to wind it up there, but I'll keep a hold of you after you come off. So where's the best place to find you, except at Parameet?
Well, if you want to find Parameet, we've got its own website, which is parameetworld.com. The GPN has got its own website, which is ghostplantnetwork.com, and Haunted Antiques, we've got our own website. So I've actually got 3 websites on the go. Is hauntedresearchcentre.com, and you can find me on Facebook, just under Neil Packer or Haunted Research Centre or Parameet or Ghost Planet Network. So you find me on either on website or Facebook. Really, I'm not really on. I don't do Twitter or TikTok or that sort of thing.
We
So
do
that's
TikTok. I quite enjoyed it. We're not, I think we've got about 3,000 followers or something on TikTok. But I just kind of like put pictures again and put music on them. That's what I do. But I quite enjoy doing them. You know, don't get me wrong. There is some crap on it.
Yeah,
You know,
I have been told I need to get on it, but I can't get my head around it. I have enough, to be honest, to think about without thinking about TikTok as well.
without adding another platform to
Yeah,
you're just happy with you've got on your table without adding another plate.
I am plenty busy enough, and I actually retire in January, but obviously I'm not retiring from what I'm doing.
Well, that'll give you more time to do your paranormal stuff.
Well, I don't work anyway. The paranormal is my job. You know, the Centre and Parameet and Ghostbank Network. That's my paid job. So when I retire, I'm just going to get some money off the government, which is going to be nice.
I will see if they'll go to government, but however, we'll know if you're doing that route. You know. Thanks. You're welcome, Doc. Thanks for coming in. I do your Instagram. Amy does your Instagram
Yeah, Amy
page.
does the Instagram. I ain't got a clue what she puts on, but she does it for me.
Some of them are. I'm not a tech person either. You know, see, we do Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. We've got an Instagram, but we hardly ever used it. Sarah does all your tech stuff. You know, computers and editing, everything basically. I'm thick when it comes to all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm quite pleased when I do my wee videos on TikTok. Now, I know there's a lot on TikTok and there's a lot of elaborate stuff, you know. I don't have a clue how to do that. So I'm quite chuffed if I just do my wee sort of videos with maybe 15, 20 pictures and a bit of music. That's my tech side done and dusty. Or I put posts up on the page and I'm a happy chappy, you know. Text to that. I was going to wind up, but here's a question. Just when I mentioned tech, I've asked a few people this. Do you think there's too much tech in the paranormal these days?
Yeah, I do, definitely. But I think people rely on it too much now. No, I think tech is good as a backup sort of visual thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the sort of basic stuff, you know. I love dowsing rods personally. I just like listening and I like watching things, and so I don't
using
really...
your own senses. See, we're a kind of basic team, you know, because you know we don't use all the big fancy equipment. We'll use your K2 meter REM pods, cat balls, the K2, the K2 app, no, the Necrophonic app, and Spirit Talker as well, which we've got quite a wee, you know, we think they're quite good. And that's really about it. You know, we'll use sort of compass, ping pong balls, that kind of thing. Because we just feel Spirit doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you're using, if you've got a £400 Spirit box or whatever, and that's some guys got a 30 pence ping pong ball.
Yeah,
Spirit couldn't care less, but you no offence to people who use tech. Some folk love all their tech, and that's fine. That's their thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's up to the individual, isn't it, what they use?
But I think you've made, especially with looking and listening and feeling it.
Yeah.
You know, you get that feeling that there's somebody standing beside you, behind you. Whatever.
I really like people having personal experiences. I know it's not evidential, but I'm not bothered about evidence, to be honest. I'm not out to prove there is life after death. This is just my journey, and I'm just fortunate people enjoy watching me and my journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think I'm quite lucky. But Jane Rowley is the medium of the centre, and I've been working with Jane now for, I don't know, probably 15, 16 years, and I've got Amy and Ann to the team as well. But we work so well together. So and we both, Jane comes up with some crazy ideas for us to try as well, which is great. So we'd like to think out of the box. We don't sort of copy the new trend. and that's how we work.
But that's the best way work. Jason's the best. We used to have a big, massive team, but now there's Laura, Sarah, and myself, and we need disrespect to anybody who used to be ways, but we work better now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, there tends to be with the shows that we do. Normally, there's the four of us on the Demon Connections, especially. But we might be doing different shows with just one on our own. We do a series on GPN called Paranormal Blackout, where one person goes around investigating my centre, and it's 2 floors on their own with just the camera, and we stream that live on GPN. And so that's just one person investigating, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So we just like showing different things that we can do within the paranormal.
Aye, I was talking to Kat for Unlock Paranormal a few nights ago on the show, and we were talking about content and stuff like that, and coming up with kind of different ideas instead of following the sort of mainstream, what everybody else is kind of doing. And it's not that you're doing it to be special or anything. Look at me, we've done this. You're doing it because you're looking for new ideas. You're constantly kind of looking for new ideas and maybe, different ways of investigating. And some of them might be crazy. You might come up, I've come up with some belters my time, ideas. That'll never, ever work. Amy says she's done it 3 times. But then sometimes it's the craziest idea that does work.
Yeah.
Because you might get a crazy spirit. Not a crazy spirit, but you know what I mean. Who might like your idea.
The thing is, perhaps in the beginning, Parameet was sort of a bit of a crazy idea. Could we pull it off? And in the 4 years that we've been doing it, it's grown so big, and I'm not exaggerating. Everyone that was there at the weekend, there's so many comments on Facebook saying how much they loved it and they can't wait for September. Some people are messaging me today and said they've already booked the hotel rooms for September at Sketchy Grange where we're going, and they travel. The couple especially travel from Dorset all the way to in Leicestershire all the way to Leicestershire just for the Parameet weekend.
Mm-hmm. So that's it. You get an idea. You don't know if it's going to work unless you put it into practice. With your Parameet, you thought at the beginning, can we do this? But no, it's grown yearly.
Yeah, and that's the way we work. We have an idea. We don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll have another rethink. But fortunately, most of them have taken off, and they're being really successful. Especially the Parameet. I'm really looking forward to September because it's going back to Sketchy Grange where we know. And I'm changing, and even Amy doesn't know this, I'm changing it a little bit for September. But I am so excited for next year where we do the big one in June in Inkley, but then we go all around the country meeting lots of new people and introducing more people into the Parameet family. And I'm really excited to go in places that I've never been and talking to different people as well as the people that follow us as well. So I'm really excited.
And to think back for day one, you weren't sure if it would work or not.
Exactly. The first one was out at the centre, and that's actually when I first met Amy. The first time Amy came to the centre, she came to the first Parameet, and I've not been able to get rid of her since.
I'm sure he means that in a good way, Amy. I'm sure he means that in a loving way. But Sarah and I were the same way with PIH. When we started this just before the first lockdown, and I'd always been into paranormal. Sarah loved the history, we'd never done it before. And it was somebody suggested to us, why don't you start a group, a team, whatever? Yeah. And I'll be having a coach. Thanks, Dad. LOL. And we'd never done it before. We thought, do you know what? I will give it a go. And we started kind of at the right time at the wrong time because we'd only done 2 or 3 investigations before lockdown happened. So we thought, right, well, we're stuck at home. What are we going to do? And so, well, why don't we just try talk to people? And our first few podcasts were a total, I'm not saying we're brilliant at it now, but they were a total disaster. You know, our first handful of podcasts, because we'd never ever done it. And so that we're 5 years old this June. And I mean, we're nothing special, but Siri and I never thought we'd get to, 5 years later, we thought we'd last a month, 2 months tops. But 5 years down the line, and we're still doing this. But as you say, Neil, you get an idea and you go for it, and you think this might not work. And we tried a hand at doing a documentary about 4 years. We called it Darkest Mile. We filmed it in Edinburgh with different members of the team, and it was about lesser known areas on the Royal Mile. And we'd never done it before. Didn't have a clue what we were doing. So we went out and we filmed it and we put it together and we thought, that's crap. But we still gave it a go. And now we're doing a Wallace Trail, which we're going on to episode 5 with the Society of William Wallace. And that seems to be going quite well. But again, it was just an idea. And I say to the Society of William Wallace, well, I've got an idea. I don't know if it's going to work. What do you guys think? They say, well, let's try it and see.
Just try it. If you get an idea, just try it, because if you don't try it, you could be thinking the rest of your life, I wonder if it would have worked.
Aye.
If you don't try it, you don't know, and you could be wondering the rest of your life. And I'm so happy that I tried the Haunted Antiques Centre. I'm happy I tried Ghost Planet Network. I've tried Parameet. Fortunately, they all seem to be working. Next year things might be different. I don't know. But at least I'm happy that I tried them.
But that's it. You need to try it. And see, the Wallace, it sounds big here. There's no meant to, but we didn't know if it would work. We could see CRE Entertainment on board. They're a film company from America, and they were really impressed with it. And so they've asked us to do a documentary in Edinburgh for them in July. Souls of the Old Town, so we're doing that in July, and it all came out of just trying an idea out. So anybody's get any ideas, the paranormal, even if you doubt them, just try them.
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
It doesn't work.
You have another thing.
Back to the drawing board.
But that's the sort of person I am. I do get lots of way out ideas, and Jane gets lots of way out ideas as well. But between all of us, we got ideas for over 20 different sort of shows to put on GPN already. So we are going to be focused on a lot of new shows. Some are really simple to put together, but they are slightly different. But some are going to take a bit more planning, I must admit. But we'll try it, and hopefully they'll work.
Exactly. With Laura and Sarah, they've started doing a mystery show. We did the second one last week.
Yeah.
Last week, and it was Laura says, I'd like to do. She's writing her mysteries, so can I try doing shows? And so I fire in, and everybody seems to be, quite interested in it. So, and I do get some weird and wacky ideas. Sarah, Laura will tell you some ideas, and they just pop into your head. Do you get that? You could be lying in your bed and you think, bing.
Oh, yeah. It's when I go bed. I could be. I don't watch a lot of TV anyway, but I could be sitting down in the living room on the settee, falling asleep. But then when we go to bed, my brain kicks into gear, and I get all these ideas. And I'm awake for hours and hours. Quite often, I come back downstairs at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning because
I've done that a few times.
I'm thinking of this idea and how I can make it work.
Do you think here's a question? Might sound a silly question, right? You see, obviously you're sitting in the settee. The same happens to me. You go to your bed, and I think maybe because there's less distraction, you know, where it's TV or whatever.
Yeah.
But do you think maybe that spirit's time as well for maybe, you know, they see
Oh,
your nose distracted, they've got your attention basically, that right, let's
yeah,
get in
yeah,
there.
yeah. Seriously, I really do think that it's they might end up being my ideas, but I do think sometimes spirits put the ideas into my head,
Hmm.
or they just I do believe they give me the sort of the first bullet points of the idea, and then I develop the other bullet points of the idea to
You
make
get
it.
that wee nudge.
Yeah, so I do think they. Yeah, we all know between 2 and 3, that's the time spirits come close to you. I do think they come and they say, "Yeah, come on, Neil, get up, work on this
It,
idea."
it's the same. I've asked a few people this, you know, everybody gets a time in their life where they've got an issue, whether it be financial or emotional, you know, whatever. They've got
Yeah.
maybe a problem, and it goes on for days and they can't get away, think a way out to it. And then at the midnight hour, as I call it, a solution will come.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Do you
quite
think?
often.
I always believe that spirits always around us, but they don't interfere. But you know, they're standing there and they're saying, right, well, basically he's in a bit of bother. He's still not got a solution to this, so here's a little idea.
Yeah, 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 100%.
You know,
You worry about something for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden, there's the idea, mate. Go with it.
and you start to question yourself, how did
Yeah,
I not think of that weeks ago?
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
Right.
when it's right in front of your face all this time. And I do believe that spirit giving you that wee, I don't know if
Yeah,
they're allowed to or, you know, how that works, if there's rules or whatever, but I think that's him giving you that wee shove in the
yeah,
right direction to.
I agree. I think they give you time to see if you can think of the way out yourself, but then when you don't, they give you the nudge and give you the start of the answer, or give you the full answer.
And see you on your way. Uh, what dream did you have about Baphomet?
Yeah, well, we all know who Baphomet is. Well, we know the image of Baphomet. I had this idea of actually trying to communicate with Baphomet. It was in a dream again, and he come to me and said, "Yeah, I will talk to you guys." And then we did a seance up at the centre, and Jane says, "Yeah, this is going to seem strange, but I've got Baphomet here." And he's saying someone's contacted him and he's saying he will work with us. And she asked if anyone was thinking about Baphomet, and she looked. Then she turned around at me and says, "It's you, isn't it, Neil? You've been sending the thoughts about communicating with Baphomet." And I said, "Well, actually, yeah, I've not told you this idea yet. I've not told anybody this."
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Well, he's here, and he's saying yes, he will work with us, but he needs 3 items before he will help us." We now actually have these 3 items. So when we get chance, we are going to start a new series about Baphomet, centered around Baphomet, and find out who that really is.
Right.
And yes,
I'll be keeping
Amy will be a part of the series.
I'll be keeping a wee eye out for that one. But I think I know I did this last night. I guess I was doing last night. I kept saying I was going to wind up and then thought of something else, you know. But I'll wind up there. I'll keep a hold of you after we come off for a wee minute,
Yeah,
for a
okay,
few
yeah,
seconds if that's all right, Neil.
yeah, fine.
So everybody knows where to find this guy on Facebook and all the websites. If you can't remember them all, just jump on his Facebook, I would say, and
Yeah, yeah,
they're all listed there anyway. But
yeah. Just send me a
definitely,
message.
send a message. Definitely is a very interesting gentleman, shall we say. And a big thanks to everybody in the chat. So we're off. We'll be back tomorrow night with Hollywood acting stuntman, our old friend, Mr. John Azuna. He's coming back in. We're going to be talking about his latest movie, the bouncer. We've not seen John for a few months, but he's coming back to annoy us tomorrow night. But don't forget, this weekend, this Friday, the Ghoul Gang, Rosie and Emma are coming up from Southampton, and we are off to Loudon for a big overnight investigation. And we are meant to be doing one on Wednesday during the day, but the weather has kind of, I don't know what it's like down there, Neil, but we had a heat wave for about 2 weeks, and the rain was bouncing down earlier on.
It's wet and cold and windy now.
Aye, so I think everybody's... So, it's Loudon Cut, so it's weather permitting on Wednesday. Fingers crossed it's going to be dry for us. And that's it, folks. So a big thanks to Neil again and to everybody in the chat. And we'll talk to you again. You will be seeing... Oh, he's over there. You will be seeing Neil again if he'll come back. I need to ask you, going to come back and see us?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for inviting me.
Excellent stuff. We'll see if we can drag Mr. Frankish on at the same time.
Yeah.
See with Barry. I don't actually know. He looks small. Is he actually small in real life?
Oh, he's tiny.
He's 4'2" or something.
He's the size of an action man.
Is it? Because he looks kind of... I've only ever spoke to him like this, but you get that kind of image, you know what I mean? Like Barry, I always get the image Barry's like 6 foot plus kind of thing.
Barry John is about 30 foot tall.
So he is a kind of tall guy.
No, I'm exaggerating. Barry, I looked up to Barry John, and Barry Frank is only a little guy, but he's a lovely guy.
But I've known Barry, but I've known Barry for 2 or 3 a while now. But no, Barry's really down to earth, and he's quite funny. But you always just get this way that he's a wee munchkin. I mean that in the best way, Barry. If you're going to watch it, Barry's in his bed.
You know, Gap Paranormal, Amy's been commenting, Barry is Amy's partner.
Right. Oh, Amy, you're on with me next month. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Sorry, doll.
Yeah, so I'm going to send her some awkward questions in when she's on.
Right. I didn't connect the dots there, doll. Very sorry about that. I was talking to Barry today.
Amy and Barry are together.
Good. I was talking to Barry earlier on today about next month, and he asked if Ames, he called it Ames, AMES.
Her name's Amy, but we call it Ames.
That's right through. I didn't put 2 and 2 together there. She thought she was helping. So you're in next month, Amy, and your dad Pops can launch some questions at you. But so we'll wind up there. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night, and you'll see this guy later on. All right. Cheers, Bye. Bye.